Hello all, we are back at Sage 24 with some indie games, and the first game up is Reindeer Story. This is a turn-based RPG, and it has that classic style top-down gameplay similar to Pokemon when you're traversing throughout the world. So you have a few options when you're in battle, like physical, which are melee-based attacks, and you have special, which is a move for the reindeer character, which he can shoot a projectile from his red nose. And there's also an option to go into your item bag. And you're going to need to do this because you're going to need to search for items like potions or antidotes because enemies can poison you. When I was playing this game, I had got poisoned and then I had ended up dying. So you can also control your characters during the enemy's turn. So if the enemy like attacks you, you can like move around to dodge their attacks. And the more enemies that are on screen, the harder it will to be to dodge the attacks because there'll just be a whole bunch of projectiles on screen. So I really like this feature because if you're really good enough, you can basically go through all of your battles while taking little to no damage. So I think overall that this was a good game. The next game up is RoboGAL, and this is a 2D platformer heavily inspired by Mega Man games. So you can jump, dash, shoot. You can even hold down the shoot button to charge up for a power shot. The gameplay was really fun, and it had controller support. The difficulty can be a bit much for this demo. For the portion that I played, I was just like, man, this kind of feels like some last stage or semi-last stage type of difficulty. But I played a lot of Mega Man games, so I was pretty used to it. My only issue with this game was the assigned buttons. They just weren't to my liking. Although there was an option screen where you could change them, whenever I opened this option screen to configure the buttons on my controller, it just wouldn't work. Like whenever I opened the options menu, the controller would stop working and only the keyboard would work. So that was the only issue that I had. It was a great game otherwise, and I highly recommend. Next is Rolling Ball game, and it's like one of those Super Monkey Ball type of games where you have to roll the ball carefully to proceed through the stage without falling off. At first, I was using a controller because, you know, controllers for me are more comfortable. I was moving around with my analog and it was working. However, I could not rotate the camera, so it was making it very difficult. So I noticed that if you use keyboard, you could press the E key to rotate the camera, and it just made the game a bit more easier for me. So I started using the keyboard, and in my experience, this game was pretty good. It's all about trial and error. You get to a part in the stage where you mess up and you fall off, and then it's like you know what to do next time. Or maybe you have to fail a few times before you figure it out, but you eventually will figure it out. And you just get further and further. Unfortunately, this game does have a life counter, so after you fail a few times, you will get a game over. But, you know, it still applies. The more you study the stage and get used to it, the better you'll get. So I think that you will like this game if you're a fan of the Super Monkey Ball series. The next game is Runaway Star. It is a turn-based RPG. The game opens up with asking you some questions, you know, like, do you think the world will ever obtain world peace? And do you have a wish? And things like that. So after you answer these questions, I don't know if they apply to anything, you like experience some kind of earthquake and some thunderstorms and stuff, and I don't even know what the heck is really going on here. I just started skipping through all the dialogue, and then the next thing I know, I'm playing as two schoolgirls in the forest, and I'm running around and I'm fighting these grass creatures that look like they're, you know, freaking oddish from Pokemon. And so all I had was access to some basic attacks. One girl was using like this rusty sword, and the other one I believe was attacking with like her book, but it wasn't like with spells. I think like she was just kind of like raising the book above her head, and it was just causing enemies to take damage. So I tried using mana but I don't think it's available at the moment, or maybe I just needed to level up more. But to be honest, I didn't really spend too much time on this game. You know how I am with RPG demos. It just takes up a lot of time to try to experience everything. So, but for the portion that I did play, I will say that it was pretty mid. Next up is Sakura X Clash, and this is a fighting game on the Mugen engine. It's amazing how people are still, to this day, using the Mugen engine. I once had a Mugen build of my own that I was making, and then I unfortunately lost everything. Anyway, this game is about some school kids fighting each other, and the roster is made up of mostly females. The guys in this game actually came a bit later in the later build. So, this game has since gotten a lot of polish from when it first arrived in Sage a few years back. The art style in this game is like those SNK fighting games from the Neo Geo Pocket, and it plays similar as well. So, your special moves are your quarter circles and half circles, and supers are usually double DP motion with a punch or a kick. So, while I was playing this game, I couldn't do many combos, but I find myself liking the character Asuka the most, as she could throw full screen projectiles and also has the same laugh as Karen Kanzuki from the Street Fighter series. So I was just like, oh, I'm definitely going to main this girl. The game itself, it's nothing crazy if you're like heavy into fighting games. You know, it's not really going to be anything competitive, but it is pretty nice for the casuals. And like I said, overall, just the polish that this game is getting is just really nice to experience. Next up is a game called Scouter, and this is a 2D high-speed hack and slash game. This is a pretty amazing entry. It's like you're playing the Strider games, but in between the battles, you have like this Sonic the Hedgehog style gameplay. So you'll be bouncing off pads, running up and down slopes, and like there's this drop kick move that you can do while you're in the air to keep your momentum going. And I just thought that this game was pretty good. You know, it looks like some really old PC game. Like, it's not visually good to look at, but it was very fun to play. So you could just swing your sword around at enemies. They have like health bars, so it takes a few hits to take them out. And it also had controller support with pretty responsive inputs. There were times where I felt like I was moving right, trying to move right, and my character wouldn't actually move right until I attacked first. But otherwise, it was pretty good. I definitely recommend trying this one out. The next game up is Smitty 2, and this is a 2D platformer demo. This entry was an interesting one. The objective is to collect these spears in the stage and use them to free these people that are captured in these crates. It costs 30 spears to free someone. If you die, you will lose 10 of those spears and you'll be sent back to a checkpoint. The checkpoints are spread out throughout the stage, so you'll never lose much progress when you die. You really don't want to die, however, because like I said, you'll lose 10 spears and there's only a limited amount of spears in the stage, so you might actually miss out on being able to free some captives. When I was playing this game, I did die a few times because there was some things I didn't understand at first, and I ended up missing 2 captives. So there are some enemies in this stage, and you can shoot them once you pick up this fireball ability. This thing will be like a little flame icon in a bubble, and you'll see a few of these placed throughout the stage. There's also a boss at the end of this game, and you know, after you beat him, you know, that's it. It'll just say like, thank you for playing, and you know, all I have to say is it was just a great game, man. It was really polished. It was small, but it was really freaking fun. So the fact that this game is called Smitty 2 makes me want to check out Smitty 1. Maybe it's a complete game. So kudos to the authors for making this one. I definitely look forward to more, and this was my favorite entry at this session. The next game is Sollire, and this is a 2D spaceship shooter. It is similar to games like Gradius. this is a returning entry to Sage, and I remember it being here a few years back, and it was once known as Ruby Project. So this game seems mostly the same as it did before. It's a bit underwhelming, to be honest. Um, there are a few small differences from the previous entries, such as a few new enemy types, and most notably, the camera is a bit more zoomed in. So the 3 locked stages that were, locked before are still locked. So you can't play them. There's only one stage to play in this demo. And I will say, I enjoyed this game just as I did before. But if you've already played this update is not going to be anything special. So that's going to do it for me on this session. Still a few more to go in the indie games. The page link to all of these demos will be in the description below in case you want to try them out yourself. If you're still here, thank you for watching. Leave a like or a dislike on this video to show your support. Subscribe to the channel if you're feeling generous. I will see you all next time.